Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Catch Me If You Can, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks, Christopher Walken, Martin Sheen, Natalie Bay, Amy Adams, James Brolin, and Brian Howe, directed by Steven Spielberg. Now, I remember this movie coming out to theaters, and I did see this in theaters when I was, 12 years old, something like that. Maybe 13, I can't remember, but what did I think of it? Well, it's about the same as what I'm about to think about it right now. Let's get into this. This is inspired by a true story of Frank William Abagnale Jr. being portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio, who's a pretty relatable character for a con man. And I like Leo's performance in this movie because he's not portraying an accent he just can't do, like in those Scorsese movies. And I'll talk about that one day. Frank William Abagnale Sr., played by Christopher Walken, who is an actor I always love seeing from movie to movie, and he got an Oscar nomination for this performance. And his character has an arc. His wife Paula, played by Natalie Bay, now that character I did not care for because when she divorces him, it made me really sad. And the fact that Frank Jr. becomes a criminal later in the film, that made me cry like a little girl. I love the scene when Frank Jr. becomes a substitute teacher for a French class that had the punchline for the scene because he got bullied by this kid named Brad. Sorry, whoever's named Brad out there. And his dumbass friend, and Frank Jr. made him read in front of class, which that was hysterical. And Frank Sr.'s old boss, Jack, played by James Brolin, who's Josh Brolin's father in real life, who I thought in this movie was kind of a jackass, in my opinion, because he eventually marries Frank Jr.'s mother. Because I feel like he was responsible for Frank Sr.'s retirement, or maybe he got fired. Who the hell knows? Frank Jr. is getting a job at Pan Am as a pilot, has some great humor and some fantastic moments to present in film. Elizabeth Banks has a good small part as a bank employee who Frank Jr. flirts with a little bit, and that was a good, fun little part for Miss Banks. FBI agent Carl Hanratty, played by Tom Hanks, is the hard-ass cop in the scene where he and Frank Jr. meet for the first time. And Frank Jr. pretends to be Barry Allen, which he's supposed to be the Flash, I thought. That was a pretty clever scene until he finds out later on that he reads comic books. Frank Jr. pretends to be Ian Fleming, who is the author of the James Bond 007 books, was again pretty damn clever. Frank Jr. meets a model named Cheryl Ann, who is played by Jennifer Gardner, who I only know from the TV show Alias, and I've reviewed her before in Daredevil the movie. And I like her much better here than in Daredevil the movie, let me rephrase. Frank Jr. meets Brenda, played by Amy Adams, who I didn't know that was her until recently, and I like her as a young nurse in this movie. I thought she was pleasant to see here. I thought the scene with the African-American boy who hurt himself at a bicycle accident, and after that scene Frank Jr. vomits in the sink in the janitor's closet, and I thought it was really funny in a laughing kind of way, and kind of serious too. Sorry, kid. Brenda's father, played by Martin Sheen, who is a lawyer in this movie, is a lawyer, and Frank Jr. becomes a lawyer, and I like him in this movie. Frank Jr. hires 7 women to fly Pan Am after Brenda betrays him to the FBI. It was just a great scene, and I credit the cinematographer Janusz Kaminski, sorry if I said that wrong, who's usually Spielberg's cinematographer, for making that scene look absolutely gorgeous. Carl Hanratty catches Frank Jr., and that scene was actually a lot of fun of a scene. Just the way DiCaprio and Hanks played that scene was just brilliant. Carl tells Frank Jr. his father is dead, and it depresses him, and he escapes the plane. The FBI agents and he was flying to, as when they got home, as they land on the ground and he escapes. Was a great melodramatic scene with a great performance by DiCaprio. Frank Jr. gets a job in the FBI as a check fraud, and I really like the way the movie ends when at first he was going to Louisiana and the audience thinks Frank Jr. is running away again. And as it turns out, well, he was helping Carl's check fraud. It was just a couple of weeks late. It was a good full Jew moment kind of an ending, I felt. So yeah, that's the movie. And it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.7 out of 10. I think the actors did a great job portraying their characters, and the movie is really well made. Spielberg told a good story of a small-time crook becoming a big-time crook to work into the FBI at the end of the movie. I had a lot of fun with this movie. So yeah, I'll be back next week with Munich. And before I say goodbye, thanks for watching. Please be sure to subscribe, watch some more videos, and please leave a positive comment at the end. And until next time,